And welcome back to the ABCs of ERP and Beyond, the show that looks at ERP from three different seats. Most ERP advice comes from one chair, the partner who sold it, or the user who got stuck with it. And we try to triangulate that. We have Nirav Shah. He gives you the VAR's view. He's at AdSerious ERP and implements this for a living. And I come from the nerdy data and system side, inside a business that runs one day to day. And Emily Browning, who keeps us honest on business process and project management, the people and the workflows these systems are actually meant to serve. She can't join us this week, so you've got two of the three seats today, the partner and the data side, which for this particular topic is convenient. Think back to your first ERP go live, and if you just winced, well, this episode is for you. Every prospect meeting has that one person, arms folded, the 1,000-yard stare, still processing something that happened all those years ago. And they know the current system's failing. Everyone hates it, but we are not going through that again, is what they say. So today we're making an argument. That project that person is dreading no longer exists. Your second ERP migration isn't the first one repeated. It's a different project, but just with the same name. The integrations are APIs now, not custom code. We now have cloud. Data is coming out of a proper database and not on the big spike with all of the tickets on that we all have remembered from yesteryear. So there's a few ways that you can still squander that advantage. And we're also going to speak about how to avoid those and what to actually do this quarter if your ERP does indeed suck. So without further ado, Nirav, welcome back.
Thank you, Peter. Wow, that was a great intro right there. It was pretty phenomenal. I was like, you basically covered the whole podcast right there in that introduction. So kudos there, Peter.
Thank you. I wrote it all myself.
Yes, absolutely. This is kind of flipping, I feel like, not flipping the ERP implementation on its head, but you're just kind of looking at it from the lens of doing it again, right? And when you're in it, and those of you that have listened to the podcast out there and hopefully found a lot of really good tips and valuable insight on successfully managing your first ERP implementation, it could feel like you never want to do this again. And it is a heart transplant, right? We talked about that earlier in one of our previous episodes. But unfortunately, even, what do they say? Like if you get a heart transplant, you kind of have to not hopefully do another heart transplant, but you have to kind of go under the hood and take a look at it again. And hopefully don't put your name on a list, another one. That's kind of a little bit extreme there. Hopefully no one has to go through that. And if you are sympathetic, definitely. But there's going to be a point in time, maybe right with technology, that you're going to feel like, hey, this brand new shiny thing that you bought 15, 20 years ago is kind of dusted now and is not providing the ROI anymore. And you got a new team in, or you want to take advantage of new technology, and you're going to be thinking to yourself like, hey, we should be looking at another system, right? And a lot of times that conversation just doesn't come out in the forefront. I think there's too much scar tissue built up from the first ERP implementation. People are carrying on war wounds, right? From the first time they did it, and they just don't even want to hear that word again. But think about this, right? With anything that you do in life, anything that you do in general, second time around ends up being a little easier because you know a lot more, right? And that could help you become more successful the second time around. And like I said, a lot of times, you're doing these big system changes for specific business objectives and reasons. And this period in time right now, I feel like is a perfect example. With, we'll talk about this a little more. We have AI, we have these integrations, we have all this capability in software that never existed before. It existed, but it was costly. A lot of customers, the cost was so far that small business couldn't take advantage of it, right? And now the costs have come down tremendously. And a lot of companies are thinking this, like, hey, should we go through and look at another ERP system? Is it time? But is it going to be as hard, right? Our team went through it 20 years ago, and it took us a year and a half to stabilize. Yeah, that kind of comes with the territory with the ERP implementations, unfortunately, right? This is a big change, a big system change, big business change. But doing it the second time around, is it easier or harder? I think that's the question here today that we're looking to help viewers out there, listeners out there solve, right? Or understand. My opinion, kind of spoiler alert, I think it's a bit easier to do it the second time around? There's certain reasons why, Peter.
I think it's definitely easier the second time round. I think, although I will say, I think there's a new minefield that comes with it. There's new risks. I think if you're moving from old ERP to new ERP rather than no ERP to your first one, there's a different set of risks, which we'll get to. But overall, I completely agree that it is easier the second time round, because for me, I think that first time round is that first real conversion of business processes into data, into systems processes, and turning all of those disconnected spreadsheets and financing QuickBooks and inventory sat on someone's Microsoft Access database, all of that data has been turned into a single system database, right? So now your second one, you're just turning data or converting data into data, right? It's just it's almost just a schema shift, a schema to schema shift, which is a different set of skills that you would do from ERP migration from one to another one. It's that schema shift rather than the cabinet full of physical pieces of paper shift, which is a lot harder. So just the very nature, of course, the data guy starts speaking about data within the first 30 seconds. But for me, that data migration is so much easier. And we'll get into this, right? The tools are available for data migration that we didn't have. And I even think that it's easier now more than ever. Even if you were looking at something 15 years ago, moving on from your first ERP to your second ERP 15 years ago, that compared to doing it in modern times, it's so much easier now than it was ever, right? So I think we're going to get into this. And I think this is a good episode to cover, because we know that there are a wave of ERP out there that are coming to a point where you're going to have to move. They're coming end of life. We know GP, thank God, is finally being sunsetted, or at least Microsoft is ending support. Or they have done, but I think it's going to be completely dead. No updates or anything in the next 3 years, I think, or something. I've given it 3 years worth of life. Now, when we're talking about an ERP and we're saying, well, this is done every 10 to 15 years, you've only got 3 years left of GP, you're going to be forced to have to do something. I know I came from classic nav, talking the primitive days, but even things like 2018 right now is being extended, but it's a ticking time bomb. You're going to have to do something. So I think there's going to be a few people that are going to get some value out of this that might be doing this for the first time. It's their first ERP migration from being on an existing ERP. So I think that's a really interesting topic.
Yeah, it's almost like going back to GP here. You know, Microsoft had GP for such a long time. Now GP's gotten old and it's now gone to college and it's on the workspace and is no longer allowed back in Microsoft's house anymore.
No, it's in the old people's home. It's beyond college.
Yes.
It's the angry
it's
man that keeps shouting and it's somehow still alive.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's not allowed back to the house anymore. It has to kind of like, figure it out, and it's maybe on hospice care at this point. And eventually it'll go away completely. But yeah, there's a ton of solutions out there that, but I also feel like maybe that infrastructure just wasn't built for modern times, right? And as a publisher, you got to make the decision: do we continue going down this route and redo the whole framework if it's not going to really be productive, or have another solution behind it, right? Like what Microsoft does with Business Central behind GP. So yeah, I think you make some very valid points there. And when you start looking, we did an episode very similar to this again: migrate or upgrade, right? But when you do decide, let's say, we're going to go ahead and move on and we're going to go to a second ERP system, I think it is easier to move on and jump on the next system. You're smarter. You know what gaps your data has. So Peter, you're explaining about your data schema, right? You know which gaps you want to fill there. You know how you want to keep your data clean. You know how you want to report on your data at the end of the day, right? So that is a huge step forward. Recall, if you can, your first ERP migration, and where data felt like such a foreign thing to, a concept and how to clean data. You just took your data out of QuickBooks. You took your data out of Excel. You took your data out of, whatever systems you're using. You just dumped it. As much as you wanted to clean it, you didn't have time to clean it. You couldn't clean it. And you were scared with the new processes that the ERP system was providing. You wanted to do exactly what you wanted to do in your old systems. In the new ERP system, that's kind of how you brought your data over, right? And you're still maybe living with some of that data issues because of the way you brought your data over the first time, but now you're smarter. And now you know that if you took the time to clean your data, and now you know how integrated systems work now, right? You know the type of changes you want to make to your data. So that first thing, when it comes to data migration to your ERP, second ERP system, I think is going to be a lot easier from that perspective. And layer on top of that, all the different tools that are available to help you organize your data, extract your data easily, import your data easily, the different iterations you could keep testing that data in the new ERP systems, because these new ERP products are capable of that turnaround pretty quickly. So it's no longer a one-time or two-time data migration. Data migration in ERP project nowadays are continuous throughout the whole project. You could migrate your whole ERP file, your whole data file 7-8 times throughout the whole project, right? Until you feel comfortable. So it's just, that's kind of what I would say on that piece of it, that it does make that data migration pace easier. When you're coming off of already an ERP system, you know what you're missed out on. You know how you want your data now. You know how all the departments work together, and you know how you want to bring that data into the new ERP system.
Yep. And you would have learned a bunch of lessons on even the initial setup, right? We know that every project tends to be focused on finance first of all, but you're setting up all of the correct GL accounts and posting groups and posting classes and item classes and all of that fun stuff. It's easy when you're moving on to your first ERP, it's easy to go slightly overboard and almost slightly granular. When you're like, wait, I can have material variance GL account different from purchase price variance, and a landed cost bucket and all of these separate things. Yes, you can. And then you go super granular, and then 20% of those never get dimes thrown into that GL bucket. So you've got a lot of learning to do when you move from that first one to your second one, because there are going to be some skeletons that you've stumbled upon when you're starting to look at what data you have and what's actually being utilized in your current setup. But I think we should start. There's 3 phases or 3 acts to today's episode. So let's go straight to Act 1. Act 1 is all around reasons why this round 2 is structurally easier. And you've already started to mention this, that when we're talking about data migration, it's significantly easier than the first time round. And I would also say it's significantly easier these days as well, because your first ERP migration was all around getting stuff out of spreadsheets, getting hold of that tribal knowledge and putting it into the ERP. The second time round, data migration, there's tools out there. And I would actually say that migration tooling these days, it's awesome. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's actually beyond good. I would say that a lot of ERP companies use their migration tools as a competitive advantage, because they want you to be able to migrate to their solution so much easier than anyone else. So I think any kind of ERP vendor or ERP publisher will have the tools that are competed against everyone else, almost to the point where they'll get to a single click, or even a migration agent. If we were, well, look, we're just over 10 minutes in, migration agent, an AI agent.
Wow.
AI has been mentioned already. I've said data, I've said AI.
But migration
for me,
agent.
this is where it's going, right? This is a competitive advantage. Like, if I can sell you my ERP by saying, look how painless it is just to move on it, then you're going to start kind of getting more people onto your ERP. But I think inherently, it simply is easier in terms of data migration because of the modern tooling that we actually have. Most ERP companies want to leverage open format of data as well. They used to go proprietary. Now, suddenly everyone wants it open source, Delta Parquet, normal database tables. The data's yours. They want to make it as easy as possible. So this is a great advantage, I think, for this round 2 of ERP migration. Thoughts? That was a lot.
Yeah, no, I think there's the possibilities and tools out there are endless, right? Where when you did the first time, it was just you and the partner, and you had to do what the partner said. And the partner gave you some direction or told you how your items were going to be set up or how your customer should be set up, right? And you took that as face value and you went ahead and set your system. But then you realize, hey, wait a minute, we could have also done X, Y, and Z, or you had a change in ways that you want to maybe do something. Now you're in an integrated system, and you're stuck, and you couldn't really change it in your current ERP system, and you live with it for 15 years now, and now you have this chance to get unstuck and change that around. But, how do you do that? Now you have these AI tools and you have, you know, uh, Excel, and you have these sophisticated, solutions that are just meant to clean data and to help you get to point A to point B in a more educated way, where before you were just trying to figure out which way it was up when you're going through an ERP migration. So you brought up some really, really good points there on that. And I also want to, talk about Act One, right? Migrating between two systems. The part that also gets, I think, left out or doesn't get enough credit is just like the people knowledge, right? The knowledge that your users have developed in managing an ERP system. And the second time around, that knowledge is so helpful. If you just gathered your team tomorrow and had a discussion like, hey, we're ready for a new ERP system. What have we learned from our current ERP system? What do we want from our second ERP system? You will be blown away. They understand ERP. They've researched it without even the project managers knowing or even the owner knowing, on, certain processes, certain functionality, because whether they've told you or not, they've embraced it. They've embraced their functions. They embraced their processes in the ERP system. They understand how that, how other people's work impacts their process and their day-to-day work. So them knowing coming into your second ERP migration is going to make that transition easier. And they're going to come with more positive feedback, and they're going to come with ways to even make your process more efficient. Maybe there's limitations in your older ERP system that you couldn't get past. And with the new ERP system, you can. So, that's an important point. It's the people part of this. We talked about data, right? We're going to talk about integrations here shortly, and we'll talk about how cloud could help you, these type of things. But the people is, in my opinion, one of the biggest assets of going through your second ERP project, is because they know what they want and what they don't want at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's so useful, because it's the people. It's nothing else where you find on paper the fact that it takes someone 21 clicks to reprint a work order. You don't even find it in a flashy demo, because they would have set it up so it's like a click of a button. I actually watched this a couple of weeks ago, watching someone on an old ERP. It's just astounding that I looked, because they did it a couple of times, but I counted it the second time because I thought, that was a lot of clicks. There were 21 clicks to look up a work order and go and reprint that as a PDF to screen. 21 clicks and 4 fields to type in, like part number, just to reprint an existing work order and system. And you won't find that anywhere other than the people that know this. And I think also this is on the people driving the ERP migration to really challenge people, because those end users, they're doing those 21 clicks day in, day out. And they get so used to it, it's to the point where they don't even realize. You need to help them step back and go, that you surely can't be happy with it. You do know that it takes you 21 clicks to do that, and I've been watching you for 30 seconds, because they'll soon go, I've never really thought about it, because they're working on muscle memory. So I think it's really interesting. I think Emily said this a few episodes ago about timing people. When they say, oh yeah, it's pretty quick. Well, no, actually time it. 5 minutes, half an hour, multiplied by the number of times we do it. To speak to the people, because they're going to be telling you how much time is going into operating the ERP. And we know, look at BC, look at Acumatica, look at any of the modern day ERPs. There's no process that takes 21 clicks to print an existing document in the system, whether that be an invoice or a work order or a sales order. Nothing is 21 clicks away. Let's move on, because you said it, integrations. So this is the one that people are going to wince at. Integrations 15 years ago was a developer customization. There's no way to connect directly. We're going to have to do something funky. What does that look like second time round in the modern world?
Yeah, integrations are so far ahead, light years ahead. If you implemented your first ERP system, back in the, let's say it was 2002 or 2000s, right? You implemented it and you wanted to integrate even to like Shopify. You want to integrate to your e-commerce platform or you want to integrate to like a WMS system. It just didn't exist. It's too hard. It was too out of reach for talking about the SMB market, right? Maybe enterprise had that already. And, if you're maybe in the the AX at that time, right? You're implementing AX or you're implementing SAP or Epicor, Infor, some of the bigger tier 1 solutions. But if you look at tier 2 and you're a small to medium-sized business, that just was out of reach. You could not. That, first of all, that technology was out of reach. And number two, I don't even think the SME market really understood what WMS was at that time or how it could help their business, right? And then you have these iPaaS solutions that are out here now where you could integrate to not only all, Shopify, Amazon, BigCommerce, Walmart, right, eBay, Etsy, but you could take other solutions. You could have a homegrown or just like a very proprietary invoice portal that your customer uses. You integrate into that, right, very easily. As long as there's like you're saying, REST APIs and the source and target databases have open APIs as well. Pretty easy to map out now. Like it's not rocket science, and you could get up and going within 15, 20 hours of work, have a full-blown integration at the end of the day. So, where you had some limitations in the past, and maybe you still are dealing with those from your first ERP implementation, your second time around, you can have a lot more availability of different type of APIs and open source and integrations that you need to do to successfully bring in data, export data, customers, vendors, to be very efficient in your business. You're not having to double key things in, rely on manual imports or FTPs, stuff like that. It just could become automatic. So, I think like what a lot of people don't understand, especially if you're just in a single ERP system, is that this is such a huge advantage just to move off of your current ERP system, move to the next one, because that next one's going to set you up for another 30, 40 years, where your current one is probably setting you back right now in what you're doing. So think of it as, how you could, instead of spending, it's like a car that's 130,000 miles, your timing belt's about to go, your, you have your differentials about to go, right? You have to do a full trans flush now, right? Just to get it back on the road. Like, do you want to spend money on that? Or does this make sense to get a brand new car and have that warranty with it and all the new features and stuff that you don't have to maintain that you had to maintain in the past, AKA EV cars, right? And move on. So it's a decision. Yes, obviously. That's just an analogy that I'm making, but it's kind of the appropriate analogy nowadays. Why keep limiting yourself and doing things manually when there's this whole new world out there?
Yep. I agree. Moving on. This is a big one for me. This whole cloud, everything's up in the sky now. If we think about ERP number one and that implementation, right? That always came bundled with basically an infrastructure project. We're talking on-prem servers, a server room, air conditioning, SQL licenses, VPN clients on all of your end users, a backup plan, immutable backups, offsite backups, the disaster recovery plan that, quite frankly, nobody's tested. We know this. Compared to a modern ERP, software as a service, a SaaS, it's just provisioning a login. That's all you've got to do. And even when we're talking about testing and stuff, all it is a sandbox. It's cheap, refreshable, just spin it up and off you go. So you immediately get a copy of your live, and you can have at it. And also the whole idea of cloud is on your second ERP, the fact that when a major update comes, then it's just a simple, or even the incremental patches, it's just a case of just patching it. That's it. Just patch it, just upgrade it. And this is something your vendor can do. There's no worry about any kind of on-prem servers. What even happens if we have a power cut? And actually, this is an aside, but I think back to the first time we moved onto cloud. Everyone immediately was like, what? So I log in on a browser? Like, yes. Okay, but what if the internet goes down? Like, how often has that happened here? Maybe once a year,
even
twice
if it
a year.
does, you have Starlink. Elon has helped us and blessed us.
We're not advertising
with some amazing internet connection. Doesn't matter where you are, Elon. If you're listening, wouldn't mind a shout out here, a spot in the ABCs of ERP and beyond.
We're mere peasants. We need some help from a trillionaire. Please, just donate £1 billion and we'll be fine.
There you go.
You want $1 billion? I completely lost my train of thought. Starlink. Yeah. So how many times does your internet go down in the office? Yeah. Once or twice a year. Think about how many times your server went down in the office. Now, your server went down hardly any times, but it's easy to think about those emails sent round to everyone. Oh, we need to do some maintenance. It's going to be down for a couple of hours. Or, we need to do our monthly maintenance, right? That was always a thing where we had to kind of, during these hours, it won't be available. All of those are downtimes. But people just think about the server never went down. But the server never just like randomly went down. It was intentionally shut down month over month to do something, to do some maintenance, to do some flushing, or even to clear some space, right? It's getting a bit full. We're going to have to start deleting some old backups and stuff like this. You compare that to how many times your internet went down, your uptime went, through the roof compared to that on-prem. So I don't like that whole concern people have about going to a cloud solution. Oh, what about my internet? Because Starlink saves us all. No.
Yeah.
Because it's so much better. Because it's so much better than on-prem.
Yeah, no, that's all the benefits of living in the modern era, right? On outdated servers, people managing a server, the insecurity of Wi-Fi going down, right? Getting hacked, with an on-premise server, right? Somebody by mistake deletes a backup file, right? Like all that stuff is super, super important to consider. Like you need to find the greatest, the best security for your data nowadays. You need to find automatic ways to back up your data, right? You got to be able to remove the self-management of servers. I feel like that's such an unnecessary task nowadays that just adds too much to the bottom line. And where publishers, ERP publishers in this day take on a lot of that for you and responsibility, and they do a pretty darn good job of it. So, if you didn't trust the cloud, or you've had so many issues with your current data storage setup, right? Your solution setup, this is the best way, of continuing with ERP, because you're not going to get rid of ERP. You're already on it. You already use this ERP system. You need to use an ERP system for the success of your business, but you have to change what you have from now. And, with the new solutions out there, they're mainly all cloud-based. So you'll be hard pressed to find any publisher that's going to sell you ERP on premise, right? Without having to sign like a ton of warranty liability type of documentation, right, from them. So, that in itself is a huge advantage, and that'll reduce costs, right? Outside of just, better, more updated business processes, less customizations, which we have still talk about. Data migration is going to be easier. API integrations are a lot more available, right? The cost of just maintaining a server on premise even goes down, right? Cost of people maintaining the server goes down. So that's I think another huge benefit.
Yep. And I would say a server is an aging thing. It's at some point going to be a cyber vulnerability. It's going to be out of date. It can't be patched anymore, and it's going to have to be replaced. Or it's going to fill up of space. You're going to run out of space. Now you've still got another problem.
Yeah, right.
I would much rather have someone else have to deal with that, like right. AWS. I probably trust their cybersecurity teams more than my part-time MSP.
Right.
And also you could say, well, it's more expensive, and at least we paid for our on-prem one. Well, think of all of the other costs: the electricity involved, the upkeep of a server the hardware involved. Just have that as a SaaS product. And also, I would say that even if, say, your a modern ERP seems on paper more expensive, going to the cloud, I can bet your bottom dollar that support costs will go through the floor. You might be more expensive, but if you're doing an annual $100,000 a year in support, then that suddenly reduced to, say, $1,000 a month in 10 hours a month of just a little bit of maintenance and answering a few questions that your partner's going to be doing for you. It's going to be significantly cheaper in support costs that easily outweigh the costs of staying on-prem. And we've even seen that, there's certain industries that can't go on the cloud because of certain reasons, government or some kind of aerospace reason, aerospace compliance. But we're starting to see some of these big people, GCP, AWS, start to do like government clouds, right? That give them the necessary certifications to be able to offer cloud services to super sensitive industries. So I don't see any reason why you'd ever stay on prem.
Yeah.
Probably been a little bit ignorant there, but I would say for the vast majority of listeners.
Yeah, and like the SMB market, right? That maybe you don't have any government compliance, you don't have any other regulatory issues that require you to go on prem, that type of stuff. I think then, cloud is the right approach.
Yep. Final one here, and then we're going to rattle through a couple of the items in minefields to watch out for. But this one is interesting because it kind of links back to what you were saying about the people. Is you kind of know what you want to buy the second time round, right? The first time you go through this, it's kind of done blind. You end up with demos that kind of show off and showcase and wow, what an ERP can do. And you're learning about an ERP. This second time through, though, you kind of know which vertical you're after or you fit in. So you've already got a shortlist that might work for you. And you kind of know what to expect when you're talking to ERP partners and ERP publishers as well. So I think it's a little bit easier once you've got that experience, knowing that you're not going in for that first. So it's like buying your first car, right? You go in super green. You don't know what to do. You're just going to believe anything that's said to you. The time you're buying your second car, you know what their game is, and you know how to behave during that.
Absolutely. This goes without saying, right? Some issues you had with your first ERP wasn't built for manufacturing, for example. Maybe it wasn't built for some sort of type of compliance process that you do, right? Didn't have quality management. You know what you need, right? You know what you want. So the second time around, you focus more on that and try to find the right solution that's going to fit the business and overall growth and give you a lot more out of the box. You're not doing customizations, right? Maybe you heavily customize your old system and realize, hey, that's not the approach. And I think in general, the new approach nowadays with any ERP system going in the cloud is less customizations are better, because every customization that you do requires you to upgrade that customization at every release. So, it goes without saying, do your homework, find the right solution early, and, that's going to make your implementation much easier. But you will already know that because you're coming off of another ERP system and know some of the headaches that you're dealing with. So that one is I think an easy one to do, go around to trade shows, go around to, ask other people in your industry, right? Google searches, obviously, AI searches for sure. Have a specific checklist. Like know exactly what your checklist is when you go and look at your next ERP system. You're more educated now and you know what you want, right? Like for example, I had a car have a car right now without Apple CarPlay. I know for sure my next car is going to have Apple CarPlay. There is no ifs, ands, or buts around that. So that's like a non-negotiable. So have that list, have your non-negotiable list. Like you need to have this in order for you to, have a good next system and everyone's on board with everything. So
let's move on. Act 2. This is going to be a shorter act, but there's some key points in here because there's some things that will still bite you, and it's easy to squander the advantage that you've got when you're moving from your first to your second. So I'm actually going to start with our second point here, which is what you mentioned about customizations. So when you're moving from your first one, you've probably got kind of 10 to 15 years worth of tweaks here, tweaks there, bespoke reports, little bits of workarounds that needed light customization. And second time round, you know that someone's going to demand all of them rebuilt like for like straight into the new system. For me, it's just as cutthroat as that first time. Every single customization has to re-justify itself of why it needs to exist from zero. So look at the new system standard processes. They should always take priority and really question every single bit of custom code and bespoke reporting, whether you actually still need it, because you are probably coming from an ERP that needed a lot of customization. Like we said about integrating to other systems, there's so much now that is now a configured item or even a checkbox on a preferences page rather than customization in code.
Yeah, exactly. And your previous publisher has probably built in a lot of new features where they were originally customizations for you, right? And they've taken all that knowledge, created more out of the box functionality so you get advantage of that. So you don't have to bring along those customizations to your next new system. So like, Acumatica and Business Central, for example, like they are constantly adding new feature functionality, like to a point, Peter, where it's like, holy cow, can we keep up with, all this new functionality? And then you're ripping out older customizations that we've done, right? So it's just good. It's all good because you're spending a monthly subscription and you're getting the value at the end of the day. So, I would say that take advantage of it.
Some of that functionality is stuff that's unseen now. People go, well, where's the print button? Oh, where's the button to post that, or to release that document, or whatever it is. Like, that's done in the background. If that's been confirmed by the warehouse, then we can set it so it automatically creates, or what happens if they scan it in? Well, it creates a purchase receipt for you. You
Right,
haven't got
exactly.
to do it as a manual, as a separate process anymore. It happens in the background. Where's the
Yeah.
create purchase receipt button? It doesn't exist.
Right.
That's not
Doesn't exist.
that's not functionality being taken away. That's it being automated in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next one. I think this is one of the bigger ones, and that's around complacency. So if you have got teams that were there for the first one, it's easy to go, we've done this before. Like, it's easy. It was easy. We remember the easy bits. We don't remember the hard bits. What do you mean? We don't need a massive team. Well, a whole nother core team, but we know what it entails. We can easily do this
Right.
with half the team.
Yeah.
No, it is. So it is easier. And we've always said through this episode that the second one is easier. We didn't say it was easy. It's still
exactly.
a full business change. It's change management, it's people management, it's all of that stuff still. It's just easier the second time.
Yeah, exactly. It's easier second time around, but you still have to measure twice, cut once. Don't expect that it's going to be a walk in a park. Like, hey, we select a new system. We're gonna go bada bing, bada boom, and next thing you know, we're live. No, it's gonna take effort. It's gonna take work. It's you still want to question your business processes. You still want to question your data. You still want to question who's doing what, right? But maybe not to the extent you did in your first ERP implementation, but just so you rinse out and you squeeze out every ounce of additional value that the new ERP system is going to give you when you get it implemented. So yeah, don't be complacent. Have the same kind of thought process as like if it's your first ERP system, but you are a lot more knowledgeable now moving into it for your second.
My next one is around confidence. It was the first one has been done. It's been obviously been successful because you've been on it for the last 10, 15 years. This second system syndrome that you might have parked first time can easily come back when you have more confidence. So it's easy to go, well, it's successful. We aced it. We definitely know what we're doing second time round. So while we're at it, we'll also add this into phase one. We'll add barcoding into phase one. We'll also do the CRM migration at the same time. There's AI now, so we'll put that into phase one as well. You have to treat this as isolated phase one, core business processes. Phase two, the automation and the nice to haves. Don't be overconfident thinking that because the first time was easy, you can just do more the second time round. Don't chew too much.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. I don't think I have anything more to say about that one.
Great. I know I've aced it.
You've aced it.
All right, last one on these minefields is data hoarding. We said at the start that your first ERP is removing the big spike with all of the receipts on it and the cabinet full of printed sheets and all of the Excel sheets. This is now one of the biggest risks, and it's data hoarding. You've moved the business into data. Now you're moving data to data. It's easy to go, we'll just bring the lot. Don't do that. You don't need all of the history. You just simply don't. Over 15 years, you're going to have a bunch of customers you've exited, a bunch of vendors you no longer deal with. You're going to have 15 years of AR invoicing and AP invoicing. You don't need any of that stuff. So again, this is your opportunity to have a clean start. So bring what makes sense to you, right? That might be 2 years worth of active customers and vendors, or 3 years or 5 years, not 15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's the same for invoices. Like, just bring over open invoices, or even just the open balance reference to the invoices if you want to. Trial balances, anything that's kind of open. You don't need the whole lot because you have a wealth of information in your original ERP, which is absolutely fine. That can now belong in a read-only data warehouse. So if you have teams of people that need to look up customer history and when was the last time we sold this part? Maybe it's a part that didn't make migration. You not sold it for 3 years. It didn't warrant, it didn't earn its keep. But you've now got a customer asking for this product code. Well, instead of going, it's a new part and we'll set it up, you can have a look in your read-only data warehouse and go, we last sold this 12 years ago. And then you can start thinking about, should we allow this back into our business? If it didn't make the cut from ERP1 to ERP2, do we actually want this business back? There's this kind of stuff that allows you to continue to make improvements to your business and not let all of the old crap creep back in. You cannot do that if you just bring in everything over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. You need to really take some time and understand like the value of history. Like, what are you getting out of it at the end of the day? How, like, it's a pure measurable decision that you're able to, that you need to make on the history in the future. Okay, that's the other part of this. If you've already made decisions on that history and you just have it just to have it because you feel you could sleep at night, then I would question whether you need to bring it in, right? But if it's critical, business critical for you to make decisions in the future that you haven't made for that history, I think there's a conversation. I'm not saying that's even 100% that you need to bring that information in, but you have to be careful. It's just like garbage in, garbage out. Because once you start bringing in the old history and you're kind of stuck with the data migration, you really can't move that data migration along because you're stuck with the way that data was created the first time. You got to create the same way the second time. So, be careful with that because that could also be a double-edged sword here where, yeah, it sounds good on the surface, but it could really be a detriment and get you back to square one where you originally were. Yep.
And finally, Act 3. I'm going to lean on you a little bit more on this one, Nirav, because you'll be talking to these kind of people that are considering that and they're starting those conversations with partners. If there's someone out there listening to this, what should they do in the next 2 or 3 months if they're sitting there going, you know what? You're right. My 10-year-old ERP does suck.
Yeah.
Where should they start with this?
Yeah, I think start getting internal feedback just with people. Start with an internal committee. This is an initiative that you're thinking about. It's not 100% done yet, right? Or you're going to make the choice, but have a town hall with your people, right? Have a call discussion on, is this realistically the right system for us right now? As you're moving into growth phase, as you're taking on new customers, you're taking on new product lines, you've expanded to different markets, you're moving into different states. Is this the right system? Is this system now hurting the business more than helping the business, right? It's a town hall conversation. Everyone should be involved in it, not just management, not just key users, just an open, honest, collaborative dialogue, right? Have that first. And then take all that, document all those issues, those symptoms, right? And that's not like a shopping list. You're going to turn back around and say, okay, these are the specific system I need because these are all issues that we faced. But think about what specifically is like hurting. Who is it hurting? What does it cost that person at the end of the day, right? So some could be fixed just by configuration in your current system. That's always on the table, right? And we can't discount it. You've already made that investment. You spent that money. You're on your current system. But are the symptoms strong enough to take that one step farther and now actually do some studies in the business? Which modules, which customizations, which integrations are really hurting us? Where are we losing time every day? Where are we losing employee morale every single day? Where are we losing business? Our customers are going to, our competitor because we're just not fast enough, or our invoices are just constantly wrong, or, our bank can't give us a loan because they have to come audit us every 6 months because we can't release proper financials, right? What are the specific now issues that you need to go and rip apart, study? Okay. Do that audit, do that data run, right? Now have interviews, one-on-one interviews with people. After your time studies, after your investigations, interviews, right? And now say, come to the conclusion, this specific module is broken. This specific process is broken, right? The system is down too often, right? We have to spend an extra hour a day because we have to just put in all the stuff that we wrote down on pen and paper because the system was down for maintenance or something like that at the end of the day, which is zero value add, right? And you miss a lot of real-time reporting.
Yep. I'd also say more of a high-level strategic point of view is you're probably doing long-range plan that should include an ERP migration if you're on some of the ERPs that we mentioned at the start that are coming up to end of life or at least end of support. So if you are out there and you're on GP, that is it. 2029, you need to be doing things. That's in 3 years' time. So if you're a company that does long range plan of 3 to 5 years, it needs to be in there as a line item. We're going to have this cost. We expect it to cost us, say, $300,000. We need to park that. We're ready for an investment of our ERP. If you're on any version of a classic nav, anything before Dynamics Business Central, you also should be considering this into your long range plan as well. So I think it's paramount that you do the granular work, the audit. Let's have a look at what we've got, inventory, what you've got in your current system in terms of customizations or anything bespoke to you. Do the stuff, but also look at the long range horizon of, okay, well, we need to do something at some point. We know that. Does that mean that we'll need to be doing that in the next 5 years? Because it's easy to go, 2029. Even now I feel old, right? 2029 sounds like a futuristic year. It's 3 years time. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Very good. I think that's it. If you've been listening, if your ERP does genuinely suck, then hopefully you start to realize that the thing keeping you on it isn't the battle scars of the first one. Round 2 is a different project. It is easier. A lot of your business processes just survive. It's just moving from one system to another. Integrations are easier. They're more often than not now just a configuration or have just completely gone away with new functionality. So I think that second one is really where you start to leverage what you've learned from your first one. So if you have found this episode enjoyable, insightful, make sure you like and subscribe. Smash the subscribe button. And if you are staring down at one of these moves that you need to do something about at some point, well, always reach out to Nirav's team at AdSerious ERP. They do these migrations for a living at adseriousERP.com. He still hasn't paid me to say that, and I still say it. I don't know why. But if you want someone that will moan at you and tell you why you don't need 20 years of GL history in your shiny new system, hello, that's my corner. Come and argue with me about that at petenicholson.co.uk. I blog about all of this stuff on there, and I also moan about it on LinkedIn. But jokes aside, if you have got something out of this, make sure you follow the show wherever you're listening or watching, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, you name it. Leave us a review if it was helpful. And pass it on to a friend. We do this completely for free. No adverts, no sponsorship. We've heard, hang on, I'm getting, yes, Elon Musk has phoned in. We are getting $1 billion. So still no sponsorship, I'm afraid, from Darling. But we do just do it for the love of it as much as you can love an ERP. So with that, thanks for listening. Nirav, catch you in 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
And Emily, if you're listening to this, your seat's getting cold. Hurry back.
Yes, we need you back. We need you back ASAP. And by the way, he is the data king. I don't know, like
I am.
This guy literally is. So
I am. I've got a badge and everything.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. And I think you have a candle too.
I do have I have an Acumatica candle that says Data King. You know what? I plugged my phone in. I got in the car and it synced up the car synced up, and I changed my iPhone. It now is named the Data King. And
oh my gosh.
Of course, it came up on the banner. It said the Data King is connected. And I looked at Heather, and she just looked at me like, "Really? Yeah."
I think Netflix is going to become knocking on your door real quick, really soon, and saying, "Hey, we need to interview the data king." The Data King.
So, yeah. As long as it doesn't end up with like a suspicious murder, and I'm suddenly in prison for it.
Yeah, we saw him in the server room, and then next thing, the hard drives were missing, and he was on the ground. And yet AI spray painted all over him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They don't call me the Data King for nothing, you know.
That's right. Exactly.
All right, very good. And I will catch you, 2 weeks' time.
You got it.
Okay,
have a good one.
Peter and Nirav with Emily on the scene. ABCs of ERP and beyond. ABCs of ERP and beyond. From shop floor rising up to the top. Real talk, no hype, now the buzz won't stop. ABCs of ERP and beyond.